Our defense of Israel is unshakable. Um, I would consider it a failure on my part, a fundamental failure of my presidency, if on my watch, or as a consequence of work that I had done, Israel was rendered more vulnerable.
Not just a strategic failure.
And I think that's not just a strategic failure. I think that would be a moral failure.
Yeah, so in other words, this is a couple of weeks old. This is the president with Thomas Friedman of the New York Times. Joining us now is Ben Stein, film actor and author and former speechwriter for Presidents Nixon and Ford, and of course Newsmax contributor.
Don't ever forget that.
And economist. Yes, I know. Yes, you're absolutely right. Hello, sir. Good to talk to you again.
Fine, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. So, so basically what Obama said there is if, hey, if I'm wrong and Israel gets blown up, boy, I might lose a night's sleep.
I know. That's so funny. It's so funny, horrible. If he's wrong, his legacy takes a knock. If he's wrong, his legacy takes a knock, and there's no more Israel, and there's a second Holocaust. And the Iranians have already promised. They've promised, and they keep their promises. Unlike the U.S., they keep their promises. They promised a Holocaust in an afternoon.
And all he could say is, I would consider it a failure.
I know, that's incredible. It's almost unbelievable. I mean, it's a little more serious than that, but this shows you the incredible vanity and egomania of the man. I would consider it a failure. Do you think Winston Churchill would have said, I consider it a failure if the Germans take London? No, I would consider it something that I would die for. Winston Churchill said, we will fight on the beaches, we will fight in the cities, we will fight in the streets. He will, well, whatever it was exactly. Anyway, he didn't say, it's all about me. He would say it's all about something decent and big.
Well, there was a meeting at the White House with Jewish leaders yesterday, and one of the Jewish leaders there, it was off the record, filled me in. First of all, he tried to convince them about this Iran deal and urged them to lobby Congress to back off. And he also said that he blasted Bibi for the two-state solution nonsense statement, and he said that he believes that he has to have a reassessment on that whole issue and might go to the UN. He told this to the Jewish leaders.
Well, the guy is not right in the head. I mean, let's face it. This is a guy who is in many ways the best speaker we've had, best personal orator that we've had in the White House, possibly in my lifetime. Maybe Kennedy was better. But he is just an incredibly, incorrigibly stupid man. And the idea that somehow we can trust France and Algeria and other members of the UN, Bechuanaland, with the survival of Israel is insane. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And one thing we can count on is Mr. Netanyahu will not play ball with it. Mr. Netanyahu's in it for keeps.
Yeah, and of course now Russia is going to give those defensive missiles to Iran, so that puts a rush under Israel, because once they get those missiles in place, it makes it harder to take the military option.
Well, very, very hard. Russia is the world leader in surface-to-air missiles. I mean, they've been making incredibly great surface-to-air missiles since the 60s, maybe even since the 50s. They're unbelievably good at it. And I know if I were a pilot flying an F-15 for Eretz Israel, I sure would not want to come up against the best Russia has to offer. It's incredible that at the same time Russia is super-arming Iran, our president is attempting to get Israel to knuckle under. Look, I love Israel. I'm a Jew. I'm an American first. America comes before everything else in my life except my wife. Everything else in my life is secondary to being an American. Nothing else comes close. But Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It's the only country that respects the rule of law. It's the only country that takes care of people and accepts people of all ethnicities and denominations. We have got to stand up for Israel, or we mean nothing. America means nothing. Are you old enough to remember who Bob Bartley was?
Oh, sure.
Well, I know yeah, Bob Bartley was my boss when I was an editorial writer and columnist at the Wall Street Journal. And I once said to Bob, why does the U.S. make such a to-do about Israel? I was asking it in a ragged way, because, of course, I do too. And he said, because it shows what kind of people we are. It shows what kind of people we are. It's not about the strategic necessity of Israel, which is also a big thing, but it shows what kind of people we are.
Yep.
And if we are the kind of people who let down Israel, let down the generation of Jews, 2 generations after the Holocaust, and let them down and double-cross them, we should be ashamed forever.
Yep, absolutely. All right, the Republican field so far.
Well, I love Marco Rubio. I met him about 7 years ago when I was in Tallahassee. I was incredibly impressed with him. I would enthusiastically, Will, glad you reminded me. Thank you very much. I'm going to send him money this afternoon. I love Ted Cruz. I sat at dinner with him at a dinner of the American Spectator about a year ago, maybe a little more. I liked him a lot. So I like them both a hell of a lot.
And Hillary, what do you make of this listening tour driving in this $60,000 van?
Well, I don't care about the van. The idea that Hillary is saying we've got to have an America for everyday people. What was her fee per speech last year? $250,000, $300,000 for 45 minutes work, and she's talking about identifying with ordinary people. Give me one small break, please. I mean, this is a woman who has been shaking down America's biggest corporations, shaking down our Arab friends in the Middle East for money for her foundation, shaking down everybody she knows for money for her campaign. And she's talking about everyday people. Give me a break. Sly and the Family Stone, I love everyday people, but that ain't Hillary.
You make a lot of good points there, Ben. Always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice
All
day.
right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Ben Stein, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I said, well, anyway, economist is up there now, film actor, author, economist, and speechwriter, and Newsmax contributor. It's a long list. All right, we're coming back, folks. We have much, much more ahead. Gavin McInnes, you see him on Red Eye, and you read him at Tacky Mag. He's coming up next. Don't go away. First, putting your life insurance in a trust, your money, Max the Money moment.